Future tense, passive voice. It's the fourth Sunday in Ordinary Time or fourth Sunday after Epiphany. And our reading today comes from Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 through 12. But let's begin. A young couple moved into a new neighborhood, and the next morning while they were eating breakfast, the young woman saw her neighbor hanging the washing outside. The laundry isn't very clean. She doesn't know how to wash correctly. Perhaps she needs some new laundry soap. And her husband looked on, remaining silent, and every time her neighbor hung her washing out to dry, the young woman made the same comments. And a month later, the woman was surprised to see a nice clean wash on the line and said to her husband, "Look, she's finally learned how to wash clothes correctly. I wonder who taught her this." And the husband replied, I got up early this morning and cleaned our windows. And so it is with life. What we see when watching others depends on the clarity of the window through which we look. So don't be too quick to judge others, especially if your perspective of life is clouded by anger or jealousy or negativity or unfulfilled desires. Judging a person does not define who they are. It defines who you are. While pursuing a degree at Regis University in Denver, I found in the northwest suburbs of Denver, Colorado, a small band of men and women, some married with children and some single. And they lived and prayed together and worked in a monastery-like setting. They are the community of the Beatitudes, one of about 70 such communities, and the only one located in the United States. And this community of Christians is surely one of the most eclectic and eccentric households in Denver, whose members hail from various countries of origin, but all of whom are bound by a common purpose: the commitment to live a life of prayer and simplicity and service framed around the vision for Christian living Jesus described in the 9 simple one-line sayings known as the Beatitudes. But are these simple sayings really so simple? Not at all. When we read these statements carefully and reflectively, we realize that this is none other than a manifesto for a radically new world order. Some have even considered it so radical that it must be designed only for life in heaven, for it would never exist or survive on earth. Yet, in the community of the Beatitudes, these believers who live outside of Denver would beg to differ. Radical and revolutionary to this world's standards of values? Yes, but in a nation obsessed with the Declaration of Independence called the pursuit of happiness, these Beatitudes from Jesus really offer a genuine alternative path to real joy, real happiness, real blessedness. With the exception of the first and last beatitude, all of these sayings by Jesus are marked by 2 common stylistic features. They promise or announce blessing, which means happiness and a profound sense of well-being for those who face difficult circumstances as a future experience. To be blessed, a person must learn to live with the patience of waiting with hope for the not yet. And the second feature, common to most of the Beatitudes, is that the experience of that future blessing is given to them as a gift from outside of themselves. Listen again to the cadence in these phrases. They will be comforted. They will inherit the land. They will be satisfied. They will be shown mercy. They will be called children of God. And what is the idea here? Well, perhaps Jesus is suggesting to us that true happiness, a life that is blessed, is not a possession one grasps or a payment for one's work and effort. Blessing is a gift, not an accomplishment. Happiness is not found by chasing after it with great energy and effort. It comes only to those who wait, who trust, who find contentment in simplicity. And no wonder the pursuit of happiness has been such an elusive quest. Perhaps when happiness is chased and hunted like a prize to be captured and possessed, it is the very aggressive act of the pursuit that destroys it. Maybe happiness is more like a butterfly that flies away when chased by grasping hands, but lands lightly on the outstretched hand that is stilled and patient. So, for the pursuit of happiness to be fruitful, it must be pursued indirectly, like the passive voice of the sayings of Jesus. Our culture bombards us with images telling us that if we can just buy that new shiny thing, or have enough money to be independently wealthy, or look really young and thin and beautiful, we will finally be happy for sure. And yet, though we are wealthier and healthier and more beautiful than ever before, so many in our culture are more lonely, more depressed, and more insecure than ever. But in striking contrast to that cultural images, these men and women of the community of the Beatitudes have given up their chase for wealth and found instead the surpassing riches of contentment. They have committed themselves to a simple life of prayer and hard work and gentle service in the name of Christ, a non-glamorous and unattractive lifestyle, judging by the standards portrayed by our culture. And yet, somehow, despite that countercultural lifestyle, or because of it, people of all walks of life seek them out to experience a sense of real community, real worship, real help, and real joy. The words, Beatitudes, well, say it more blessed to be rich than to be poor, that sadness should be avoided at all costs, whether by medication or denial, that the only ones who stand a chance of inheriting the earth are the ones who are aggressive and eager, that if you are going to have enough food and drink, you better store away enough and guard it for yourself. Well, we get the point, don't we? Jesus offers us a better way to real happiness. It is the indirect way of the passive voice, where we learn to practice the disciplines of patience and trust, of hard work and generosity, of forgiveness and peacemaking. In these ways, a place for contentment is carved into our souls, and it is carved out of openness that God can give, the gift of blessedness that can never just be grasped. It can only be received. Want to be blessed? To be truly happy? Slow down, learn to listen, and learn to travel lighter. Focus on others and simply open your heart and open your hand. Open yourself to the generous and gracious God who has been waiting for us to finally stop our frantic and self-serving chasing around. Maybe the butterfly of God's happiness is waiting to light on those who will slow down enough to stop scaring it away. And the people said, Amen.